Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting right into something that trips up, well, pretty much everyone at some point.
Hmm.
Even if your English is great, we're talking about escaping that cycle of boring small talk.
Ah, yes, the how's the weather trap.
Exactly. That feeling where the conversation just stalls, you
Mm.
know? Even C1, C2 level speakers can find these social moments surprisingly tricky.
It's true. Your language skills can be top-notch, but navigating those first few moments, turning polite chat into something real, that's another skill entirely.
So, our mission today in this deep dive is
Hmm.
basically to give you some tools, real actionable strategies.
Right. To help you move from those, let's face it, often dull exchanges,
Yeah.
to making a genuine connection, and cutting it fast.
And like 3 questions flat. That's the idea. We're going to look at how to pivot, how to match the conversational vibe, the humor, the formality.
That vibe matching is key.
Totally. And how to use follow-up questions almost like a journalist would, to keep
Mhm.
things moving, keep it interesting.
Those are the core things, yeah. Moving from just passively responding
Mm-hmm.
to actually kind of shaping the conversation a bit more consciously.
And look, I've absolutely been there. True story. I was at this conference once, and I genuinely spent 11 minutes. 11?
Hmm.
Talking about variations in British rain.
Oh, wow. 11 minutes on rain.
I timed it later, metaphorically speaking. It felt like an eternity, just this conversational black hole. And I remember thinking, never again.
Right. We've all had those moments.
So if that sounds familiar, this is for you. Let's do what we're calling a small talk autopsy. Figure out why it goes wrong sometimes.
Okay, yeah, let's dissect that.
Yeah.
Why do these chats sometimes just fall flat, even when people can speak the language well?
What have we found?
Well, we see a couple common things. One is actually over-preparation.
Really? How so?
You got something interesting you want to say? Maybe, but it comes out sounding rehearsed. A bit like a mini TED Talk instead of a conversation.
Ah, okay. Like you practiced your opening line too much.
Exactly. Then there's the flip side. Under-preparation.
Right. Wean it too much.
Yeah, and you just default to the safest, most predictable questions, the sort of do you like stuff kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, do you enjoy oxygen? So vague, it means nothing.
Precisely. And another layer here is cultural differences. What feels like a normal, friendly, fun fact or opening in one culture.
Right, feel like oversharing or just odd in another.
Exactly. It's that subtle calibration, isn't it?
Yeah.
Understanding the unwritten rules.
Definitely. So to make this really concrete, we've got our shame file.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
Haha. Well, it's just some real-life examples, anonymized, obviously, of small talk going a bit wrong. Help spot the common traps, maybe even recognize a cringe moment of your own.
All in the name of learning. Okay, give us an example.
Okay, here's one from the file. Person A walks up to person B at a work thing, just straight out asks, "So what exactly do you do?"
Yeah. Bit blunt, maybe.
Yeah.
Lacks that little bit of conversational padding we usually use.
Right. Or another one. Person C gets asked, "How are you?" And they launch into this super detailed story about, like, a minor headache they had,
Oh, dear. Answers the question, technically.
but completely misses the expected level of detail for that kind of opener. Shifts the whole vibe.
Definitely a vibe shift. Wince-worthy, as you say.
So, okay, how do we avoid these? Let's talk practical openings. The 3-question hook. Getting beyond, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah, this is about moving beyond just asking for information, isn't it? It's about inviting a bit more personality, maybe finding some common ground right away.
So give us an example. For colleagues, maybe.
Okay, so instead of the usual, how's your week,
Mm.
you could try something like, what's your workday villain today? Mine's the printer acting up again.
Huh, nice. Relatable workplace humor. Instant connection potential.
Exactly. Or, for a stranger, maybe at an event, instead of just, what brings you here?
Which can feel a bit interrogative.
Right. Try something like, what's bringing you here today? Is it more duty or delight?
Ooh, I like that. Duty or delight? It's open, explores motivation. Nice one.
And maybe for fellow specialists or nerds in a field,
Yes.
instead of diving straight into technical stuff, maybe something more imaginative, like if your current project had a smell, what would it be?
Whoa, okay, that's definitely not your standard opener. Intriguing.
Gets the imagination going, right? Breaks
Yeah.
the pattern.
Okay, let's try a live demo. We had a listener submit a classic, but slightly meh opener. Have you traveled anywhere interesting lately?
Ah, okay. The travel question. Very common.
How do we jazz that up? Or maybe, how does the person asked make it more interesting?
That's a good point. The receiver has power too, so instead of just, yes, Italy, you could pivot. You
How?
could say, oh, that's funny you ask. I was just thinking about the most unexpected thing that happened on my last trip. Or ask them back. What about you? What's a place that really shifted your perspective recently?
Turning it back, yeah. Or adding a bit of story.
Exactly. Or even inject humor, like, define interesting. Does surviving a delayed flight count? The key is seeing that initial question as just a starting point, a little nudge.
Not the whole conversation.
Got it.
Okay, that leads nicely into vibe matching 101.
Yes. Tuning into the
So
atmosphere.
explain that. What do we mean by vibe matching?
It's basically about being sensitive to the other person's style, their level of formality, their humor, their energy, and kind of subtly mirroring it or complimenting it.
So give us an example of a mismatch.
Okay. Someone says really casually, wow, it's absolutely boiling out today, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you reply, deadpan. The official meteorological report indicates a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius with 75% humidity.
Haha. Okay. Yeah. Total vibe kill. Misses the casual, slightly complaining tone.
Completely. Or another one. Someone makes a self-deprecating joke like, oh man, another Monday, another existential crisis brewing.
A classic Monday feeling.
And you respond with, like, detailed statistics about workplace engagement trends.
Oof. Yeah. Not reading the room at all.
It just creates this awkward disconnect. It can make the other person feel a bit weird for being informal or jokey.
So how do we get better at not doing that? We've got a little exercise for you listening.
Okay, what is it?
Over the next day or two, just pay attention. Listen in on, say, 3 different conversations. Could be ones you're in or just ones you overhear.
And what should you be listening for?
Try to mentally label the vibe. Was it super formal? Was it sarcastic, chill, serious? And then just think, what kind of response would have fit that vibe?
That's a great exercise, just developing that active observation muscle.
Exactly. It makes you more aware. Okay, so you're matching the vibe. Now what? Keeping it going. The art of the follow-up.
Right. This is where you show you're actually listening and interested, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
And moving beyond those really weak follow-ups.
Yeah, think about the difference between just saying, oh, that's interesting, which is fine, but a bit passive,
Right. It's a conversation ender, almost.
versus asking something like, wow, how did you actually get into doing that?
Ah, okay. That invites a story. Much better.
Definitely. Or instead of just cool.
Which is the verbal equivalent of a shrug sometimes.
Yeah. Try something like, what's the most surprising thing you've learned doing that? Or what's the biggest challenge?
Something specific that asks for more.
It's that deliberate shift, moving from just acknowledging to actively inviting more sharing. That's how you build rapport.
Makes sense. And we should probably drop in a quick culture alert here, right?
Oh, definitely. Follow-ups and personal sharing are really culturally influenced.
How so?
Well, very generally speaking, of course, but in some American contexts, for instance, sharing personal stories quite early on can be pretty normal, a way to connect.
Okay.
Whereas maybe in some German contexts, you might build common ground through more factual discussion first, before getting too personal.
And the Brits?
Well, often a bit of self-deprecation or shared complaining can go a long way in building rapport initially. It varies hugely, obviously,
Yeah.
but being aware that these different norms exist is important.
So you tailor your follow-up intensity, maybe.
Exactly. Read the cues, see how much the other person seems comfortable sharing. It's all part of that advanced communication skill set.
Right. Okay, final hurdle. The dreaded awkward silence. That moment where everything just grinds to a halt.
Ugh, yeah. The conversational void.
How do we escape the silence spiral? Any tricks?
Yeah, there are a few things you can try. One is just observation. Point something out in your immediate environment.
Like?
Oh, look at that artwork it reminds me of. Or this music is interesting. Have you heard this band before? Just something external to focus on.
Okay. Redirects the attention. What else?
Another one, bit more playful, we call time travel.
Intriguing.
You introduce a little thought experiment. Like, what do you think your 10-year-old self would think of this event? Or what would they be most surprised about your job?
That could be fun. Lightens the mood.
Yeah, breaks the tension. And look, sometimes the best escape is just a graceful exit.
Knowing when to fold them.
Exactly. Having a polite way to wrap things up. Well, it's been great chatting. I should probably go find my colleague. Or I'll let you get back to your drink. Perfectly fine.
Okay. And we have one more pro tip for silence busting, right? For when you're really stuck.
Ah, yes. The slightly quirky one? Ask, what's your favorite wrong opinion?
Favorite wrong opinion?
Yeah. Apparently it works surprisingly often. Someone quoted like an 89% success rate. Probably jokingly, but still.
Why does that work?
I think because it's Unexpected takes the pressure off being right and invites humor or just sharing something a bit silly or unconventional. It could be a
Yeah.
great pattern interrupt.
I might have to try that one. Okay, let's wrap this up. It's your homework time.
Let's give the listeners something to do.
Okay, two things. First, be a social detective this week. Try and spot 3 examples of what seem like weird small talk wins. What made them work? Just observe.
Okay, become an observer of good, maybe unusual small talk.
Second, actively try the vibe matching thing in one conversation. Consciously try to tune into the other person's level, see what happens. Do they lean in? Does it feel smoother? Just notice.
Right. Practical application. See how it feels in real time.
Cool. So that's the homework. Next time on the deep dive, we're diving into another C1 challenge.
What's up next?
Formal emails. How to write them so you sound professional but not robotic.
Ah, yes. The sincerely at hoping this email finds you well in these unprecedented times vibe. We can do better.
Haha, exactly. So tune in for that. But for today, the big takeaway.
I'd say it's talk like you're actually curious.
Yes!
Yeah.
That's the core of it, isn't it? Genuine curiosity beats perfect grammar every time when it comes to connection.
Absolutely. That's the fuel for good conversation.
Oh, and P.S., if you want that list we mentioned, 20 questions that aren't what do you do, just slide into our DMs.
Where should they VM?
Good point. DM us at the Deep Dive Podcast on whatever platform you use and use the hashtag #BeyondWeather, all one word.
Hashtag Beyond Weather. Got it.
Yeah.
A handy list to have in your back pocket.
Definitely. So just to recap why this stuff matters, it really tackles that common pain point, right? Being good at English, but still feeling awkward socially sometimes.
It gives you concrete things to try, some cultural insights, and hopefully it's practical, but also a bit fun.
Yeah, blending the tools with the understanding. And looking ahead, like we said, formal emails are next.
And we're also thinking about maybe tackling C1, C2 level humor down the line. You know, why some jokes land and others really bomb.
Ooh, that would be fascinating and potentially hazardous. Okay, lots to explore. Until next time.
Keep practicing.